Hello and welcome. I am Paul Fink, your security officer, and I am here today for the third in a series of presentations that will feature the insight of security professionals to give us a better understanding in the wide world of security risks. Today I am joined by Detective Jason Ackerman from the Hagerstown Police Department. We've asked to join us to provide his experiences and expertise in identifying and preventing check fraud. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
So how prevalent is check fraud in the Hagerstown area?
You know, it comes in waves. When it hits, we see numerous events at numerous branches at numerous companies. It's so easy to do. It's such an easy and basic form of fraud. We've seen it quite frequently.
What are the various types of fraudulent presentations we can expect to see in our branches?
Typically three things you'll see. You're going to see a genuine check that appears to be altered in some way, or you're going to see a completely formulated counterfeit check with genuine routing numbers, account numbers, and information printed upon the check. You'll also see fraudulent documentation and fake credit cards to back up the documentation presented by the perpetrators.
Who is likely to be the person presenting a fraudulent check for payment?
Typically what we call a mule. This is going to be an individual who could be a homeless person, a drug addict, but essentially they are picked by the people who actually obtain the information that's used on the checks, or the people who have altered them. And these people were sent in to cash the checks under the ruse. Typically the person has had, the person with the check and the information has had problems with their account, can't get a check cashed. Would they mind doing it for them? They'll first ask them if they have an identification. They'll say yes. Well, would you mind doing this for me? I'll give you a small cut of the total proceed, which typically could be in the $1,500 to $2,000 range. The individual coming into the branch presenting the check will usually walk away with anywhere from $100 to $200, which for them is a huge payday. Rarely do the people who have the information, who are stealing the information, cash the checks, but when they do, they're typically some distance away from where they live, maybe several counties, several states away, and they're using altered fraudulent documentations to misrepresent themselves as other people on the checks that they're using the cash.
What steps can you suggest to prevent check fraud from happening?
First thing to do is scan your customer against the document that they're presenting. Does this look like a person that is cashing a $1,400, $1,800, $2,500 check? Look to see, is the check written off of a Middletown Valley Bank account? Because typically if these people are coming in to cash a check, they know they can do so with their documentation at the branch for what the check was drawn off of, as opposed to a foreign bank or whatnot. They'll know the funds wouldn't be available for some time. Review the check carefully. Look for whiteout areas on the check. Look for scratched out areas, things where maybe ink was lifted or it appears manipulated. And most specifically, if you see any difference in lettering, font, color of ink in the numbers or letters within the document, obviously that's a telltale sign for a fraudulent document. If you're suspicious, contact the account holder. If you have their phone number on a file, have the individual say, I need to verify this with the account holder, graciously, but say, listen, there's just a little issue. We've had some fraud lately, so if you don't mind just waiting for a few minutes, we're just going to verify this, which is typical for us, and we'll just verify it with the account holder. And at that point, they'll understand there's an issue, and they may walk out with the document, and you won't have any negotiation, any loss.
How successful has law enforcement been in the Hagerstown area in apprehending persons involved in check fraud?
We've been extremely successful because what it comes down to is when the incident occurs in the branch, we are handed over video, correct ID information, which is crucial. Number one, if we have a very good video image of the individual who's doing this, we are going to move to step two. Asking for the identification, documenting the identification either on the check or per company protocol, but maintaining that driver's license number, making sure when you get that driver's license number that it matches up with the individual presenting the check, that you can say that is the person. Because we're going to take that information I'm gonna obtain their driver's license photo, match it up with my image that I've obtained from the bank, and 100 out of 100 times, that's gonna be the same person. It's an easy set of charges. If you can obtain a vehicle tag and vehicle make and model, if feasible and safe, please do so. It helps us in identifying the suspects as well.
Well, Jason, we thank you very much for coming in today and talking to us about check fraud.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.